going to be talking about the top 3 chess players who have been the target of downright theft and chess leaks. Starting with Ding Liren, whose performance going into the World Chess Championships was impressive. Ding Liren was the underdog going into the finals, and winning the World Chess Championships didn't exactly come without challenges. At one point he was going to make it 5 wins in a row for white, but nobody could have expected he would lose the white pieces going into round 7 and draw round 8. Users on the World Chess Champion subreddit leaned towards Ding, and many showed their support with the Team Ding badge. Also adding to Ding's statement, going into round 7, his confidence was high. The sentiment was with Ding, and he was going to play the white pieces, which have a small advantage over black in classical chess, with white winning 50% of the games in the World Chess Championships since 1886. However, he lost, even though white was supposed to dominate. After round 8, a user by the name of Jawarrant made a post in the chess subreddit, linking 2 burner accounts that fits game 8 exactly. They only ever played each other. So Ding Liren's chess strategies were not exactly kept a secret, and chances are the opposing team had information on this going into round 7 and 8. The name of the 2 accounts are Vitelli and OPQ, which were created on the same day, and have exactly 51 rapid games between them. Ding played the King's Indian Defense in 53 recent games, and the Queen's Gambit Declined in 50 games. And Ruy Lopez, Catalan and Nimzo and the Queen's Gambit Declined were played on these accounts, which are variations of Ding's openings. So it's quite likely that these accounts share a striking resemblance with Ding's playstyle. With his pre-game preparation leaked, it's not difficult to see why Ding might have a hard time winning. After round 8, in a post-game press conference, Ding was asked if these accounts were his, and he responded by saying,
"Were any training games played online that you can remember that resemble games played here at the World Championship?"
I don't know.
Which is a fair reply, and it could just be a coincidence. However, if the accounts existed on Lichess, then there's probably accounts on chess.com. Between the 7th and the 8th of February, 2 accounts were created on chess.com, and one of them was called Vitelli, the same name as the account on Lichess. It's pretty clear that leaving sensitive pre-game prep on a public database for a high-stakes game was not the most secure move, but maybe that wasn't obvious at the time. Vitelli played on the accounts called Autumn Stream in dozens of games, but it was closed for violation of the fair play rule on the 12th of February, the day before OPQ was created on Lichess. Both users moved to Lichess and they started to play from that date. Vitelli was named to GG Not on chess.com, a minor precaution. However, convincing evidence came to light that these accounts were associated to Ding and Richard Rapport.
Oh, it's... Wow. Okay, H3.
Another chess user found a game was not entirely unlike the one in the World Championships. Dorillo78A would point out that this rapid game features the opening played in a second World Championship game. Players who were following the championships reacted to the situation.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, wait a second. Oh, so then yeah, there's no doubt.
And Lichess posted a tweet essentially mocking the whole deal. 3 days after the leak, Vitelli would post on the chess.com profile in response, and he said that he was approached by Ding and helped him find chess ideas. People in the comments were still not convinced by this post, with one user accusing Vitelli of being Richard Rapport. Ding eventually won the World Championships, but he would not say that the strategy leak made things entirely straightforward. And in response to the situation, Ding said at first the games didn't bother him, but they realized it left him with no real chess ideas, so they had to come up with new ones. Despite the precaution that world-class chess players take, chess leaks have become a recurring theme in the World Chess Championships. In 2018 World Chess Championships between Magnus Carlsen and Fabio Caruana's team accidentally showed their preparation going into the tournament. This information leak for his openings and strategies was not exactly helpful to Caruana either. This made it difficult for Caruana because the video showed months of highly sensitive preparation. Although the information was briefly shown, it made the next few rounds even more difficult. In the clip, the pre-game preparation was casually on display, which made it seem like it was not exactly a secret. However, the clip contained the opening library and the calculation for whites to play and draw. It's not difficult to see why Caruana was such a strong GM, because it's an 18-move solution. Even with great talent, it can't make up for this huge disadvantage. Between the time of release and 1 or 2 hours the video was live, Redditors began to repost it on social media. Other respected players did not completely remain silent about the situation, and some even had rather strong words to say about it. Carlsen's former second said he doubted it was a trick to misinform them, and when asked, Team Carlsen replied with no comment. But it's pretty clear that Carlsen's team took advantage of this opportunity. Carlsen's manager went on Twitter to explain that it was a likely mistake than staged. Agdestein also said, "We've been close to making the same mistake too." Following the incident, 3 of the biggest Norwegian newspapers published an article and they called it a terrible mistake. And it was a terrible mistake. After Game 4, in an interview, Magnus laughed off his opponent's leak, stating that, well, I'll have a look at the video, but then I'll make up my mind.
I mean, Magnus, do you have any comments or any thoughts on that at all?
Well, I'll have a look at the video.
Carlsen's second hammer said it was in so much detail and in-depth information on an opening that had already been used in a World Championship match. However, Caruana made it to a tiebreak and the prepared lines weren't played in the final deciding games. The finalists did not entirely give up without a fight, even with the disadvantage, but in the end, Magnus Carlsen was simply too good. Caruana would lose the tiebreaker and the match in games 13, 14 and 15, playing the English opening Bremen-Shimshov system, the Sicilian defense Sheshnikov variation and the Sicilian defense respectively. And it seems like Magnus Carlsen couldn't avoid the chess vulnerability either. Just 3 days before the start of the 2016 World Chess Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Karjakin, he also lodged a complaint against hackers. There's good reason for this. The WannaCry 2016 hacks were not exactly a minor inconvenience. In 2016, the WannaCry was a disastrous cybersecurity event, and over 200,000 computers were exploited. Attackers gained access to computers and encrypted files, demanding ransom payment of Bitcoin to decrypt them. And the issue was the sharing protocol used for printers and file sharing. The team's concerns about hacks were not exactly unfounded. They were already on high alert going into Moscow, a country that holds the largest hacking conferences and where hacking is considered a sport. We can't also help but notice how close Karjakin was with Putin, and let's not forget Russia's involvement in the US elections. In light of this, Magnus also called on Microsoft Norway for help. However, FIDE was not completely oblivious to the risks, and they were certainly not taking them lightly. 5 arbiters looked into this and found there was no evidence from Magnus to be concerned, but advised that precautions should be taken. A spokeswoman for Microsoft said, "It's critical that all communication during the preparation and the finals is completely secure. Preparing the World Championship demands a lot of work, analysis and strategic sparring, a lot of computing power. The World Champion was not without help, even if the help he received was not from people he expected, so Magnus took serious precautions and even got help from Microsoft. Why?" Going back a month prior to the final, www.sergeykarjakin.com was purchased by an unknown user, and when users visited this domain, it redirected to magnuscarlsen.com. It certainly looked like Team Magnus did it, and they may not have meant to provoke Karjakin and Russia, but they certainly did. However, when Magnus's manager, Agdestein, was asked, he refused to comment, and this got the attention of Karjakin. Not so long ago, Team Carlsen's brought the domain to sergeykarjakin.com and it made it direct to their site. I think I can sue to regain that domain. At least I'm considering. Aside from the threat of the Fancy Bear hackers and the obvious fact that mind games were being played, Magnus continued to focus on chess preparation. Despite this, these players remained resilient and focused on their chess preparation.